We're just gonna hop right into it.
Yeah, let's go. Alrighty, so this is my sister Carolyn. This is the baby of the family. So as I've mentioned a million times, there are 8 siblings in the family, and this is the baby. I'm second to the oldest. So yeah, this is Carolyn. She is a, what do you want to tell us who you are?
Are you talking like personality type?
No,
Or-
just like where you're at in life. And
I'm a junior in high school. I'm 17. I think there's 4 years difference between me and the next oldest sibling. Also, I keep looking at myself in the viewfinder.
I know it's hard not to do because it's right there.
Yeah. I don't know. My position in the family is kind of separate from the rest of them, I guess, which is why this is interesting.
Yeah, there's 4 years age difference between her and Renee, the second to the youngest, which is the biggest age gap in the family. So we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between Carolyn, how she fit into the family and how I fit into the family. But before we get to that, let's talk just a little bit about like what your hobbies are and what you do. And
So I'm in my school's marching band. I'm a percussionist, and for those of you that know, I play the tenors, but a lot of people don't know what that means, and if you don't, that's fine. I write music. I can produce somewhat, but that's still like a learning process for me.
yeah, she's produced a couple songs, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
What exactly does that mean, you produce songs? Like you just put them together?
Well, producing is like, when you write the song, you have to have someone like record it. And so I like record it into an actual audio file. So that's my life.
Okay, yeah, and she was telling me how I could put these interviews on a SoundCloud
Yeah.
and upload them to podcasts. So I may have her help me do.
Well, it would be a podcast that you upload to SoundCloud.
Oh, and that, okay, so I just had it backwards.
Yeah, somewhat.
Okay, all right, but continue on.
I'm not sure. I think that's about all I've got. I work at a library, so I'm one of those nerds. But that's about all I got going on right now.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So what did you want to get into first? Did you want to talk about how you fit into the family? Or did you want to talk about like the change that your life has had in the last couple years, in the last year?
Well, we can do the run through of the family first.
Run through the family first? Okay. Yeah, so we're going to go over each one of the siblings. We're just going to do the siblings and not the parents and not the in-laws.
Okay.
Just the siblings. So Amy is an ESFJ. She's the oldest in the family. And what is your perception on Amy?
Well, I think anyone who's had any interaction with Amy kind of agrees that she's just the kindest soul you'll ever meet. She's got this like feistiness about her. Like, you don't want to make her angry, but also you could just hug her for like days on end and it'd be fine. I don't know. I feel like that's my main like impression of Amy.
I feel like that'll be everyone's main impression
Yeah.
of Amy. Amy's just so kind.
You know what? I do wonder though, because she's the oldest, how much of it is influenced by the fact that we're younger siblings. Like, I wonder if the perception would have changed had there been a sibling above her.
Maybe her personality would have been a different personality
Yeah.
type. I did a research paper on how personality, or how your birth order affects your personality, and there's got to be a little something to that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to decide on these, when I do this run through, should I also have people talk about their perception of me, or should I just skip me since we're doing the interview on me?
Well, you could probably do it and just cut it out if it turns bad, you know?
Why would anyone have a bad perception of
I
me?
hate Lloyd. No, just kidding.
Alright, ESTP, me.
Well, we all know that Lloyd... Am I allowed to cuss?
Probably not right now.
Okay. Luann takes no crap from anyone. You have a very commanding energy about you. Like, people just know, like, when you walk into a room, it's like, I should probably pay attention to what's happening. I don't know. My main memory from, like, Luann in my childhood is the only time I ever got a 100 on a spelling test when I was in like 3rd grade, I think. Like, this is the only time I ever got a 100 on any spelling test through any grade. Luann made me run laps around the house chanting the words, and I was so distraught about it.
Well, she was getting really bad grades on her spelling test, so I just helped her.
Yeah.
By making her physically run around the house and chanting the words.
See, it's like a guiding hand, but also a little forceful, you know?
All right, so the next sister that's younger than me is an INTJ. What is your perception of her?
Mindy, I've heard from the next youngest siblings, Renee and Elaine, that Mindy took on a very like parental role with them in terms of grades. However, my perception of Mindy is kind of distant. I'm not sure that I have, like, personality-wise, I think Mindy might be the one that I vary from the most. So to me, Mindy is a very, like, business efficient, like, routine type person. And that's kind of as in-depth as I can think.
Okay. And then there's the ISTP brother, Mark.
Mark's, he's wild. Mark is a very hard worker, is the first thing that comes to mind.
Very hard worker.
Yeah. He's really sweet, but kind of in a subvert way, to where you kind of have to know him to know that he's like has a really kind and caring soul. He's rowdy. He has a lot of opinions, and he's like very assured about his opinions.
Does he remind you of me at all?
I used to, but not as much anymore.
Has he changed or have I changed?
I think my perception of Mark has changed. Like, my relationship with Mark has changed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then the next brother that's a year younger than Mark is an ISFJ. Joas, what is your perception of him?
Just routine. The man has a routine, and he loves his routine. He's like a very diligent. He's very diligent, but he has to decide what to be diligent about. Like, you can't really force him to be diligent about anything he doesn't want to be diligent about.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. And then we think the next sister is an ISFP, Elaine. We think she's an ISFP, but we're not completely certain about the 3 youngest. So what is your perception on Elaine?
Oh, she's such a free soul. She just goes wherever the wind wants her to go. She does not like being like bogged down or stuck in one place. I've never met anyone more creative, I think.
So creative. I do think she's an ISFP.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not really like up to date on the Myers-Briggs like personalities, so I'm not sure. But none of her art is ever done. Like, it's always a work in progress. It's like a constant progression of everything.
ISFP 100%.
Yeah.
Continue.
That's about my perception. She's taken on a very mentorship role with me as well, especially in terms of like grades. Like, she's very like needs me to like be on top of my grades.
And then my ENTP sister, I think Renee's an ENTP. Talk about her.
I don't know. I think it's harder when you get to like Renee and Elaine because I'm so close with them.
Right.
Renee is also a very hard worker. She's very logic-minded, whereas Elaine is more like your, intuitive versus, what's the other one?
Oh, sensing versus intuitive.
I'm not sure, but I'm not sure how the difference connects, but Elaine is very like, just like how she feels in a situation and how she thinks other people's feel in a situation will govern the way she interacts with other people.
She's very feeling oriented.
Yeah. And then Renee is very logic minded. So she's always like seeing the logistics and like the kind of the science behind everything. And that'd be my main impression of, she's very science minded.
Mm-hmm.
She's brilliant though.
She's brilliant. Brilliant, yeah. She also, talk about Renee and her people skills.
Oh.
So Renee has interesting people skills.
I've never met a person who doesn't like Renee. Like, who has never
Honest
been
to
like...
goodness.
She has this, like, quality about her. It's not that she tells people her life story. She never tells people super personal stuff, like, ever. But she's just so charming. Like, she has this, like...
She's an ENTP. 100%. Go ahead.
But she's just, like... People feel very comfortable around her. Like, she's a very, like, chill person. She's not judgmental, like, whatsoever. The only time she really, like, is judgmental maybe is if you're someone who she's close to and she actually thinks that what you're doing is detrimental to, like, you as a person.
Who would that be? Because I've never seen that happen.
She, like, with me, sometimes she'll be like, Kari, get your stuff together.
Oh, okay.
But that never happens with
So you have to be really close to her for her to...
Like, she never argues with anyone, but she argues with Elaine 24/7.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right, and then I think there's a possibility that Carolyn could be an ENTP, or she could also be an ENFP. How can we fix that fire thing that keeps beeping?
Oh, you have to put batteries in it.
Do you have batteries? I'll run go get some batteries between now and Dad's interview.
Okay.
But which one is it? Do you know?
No idea. It's been happening in this house for so long that I don't register that it happens.
I know, yeah. So yeah, we're not exactly sure what Carolyn's personality type is. So if you guys watch this and you have ideas, please put them in the comments so that we can...
Are we sure I'm extroverted?
We're not sure if she's extroverted or introverted.
It's like a 49-51.
I'm pretty certain she's intuitive. I'm pretty convinced about that. I also think that she could be thinking over feeling, but then she also could be feeling. I'm not certain about the thinking feeling thing. I do think that the only one that I'm certain about is intuitive over sensing. So that's all I got.
Okay, so explain to me again, what's the difference between intuitive and sensing?
I can very much see what is in situations. So Renee can see what can be.
Oh, okay. So she's like perceptive as to the possibilities of like what's going to happen.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm perceptive to what is.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's a good balancing act. I feel like having like if you had like two friends that were like the difference, that'd be like a good...
A lot of my friends are ENTPs. I mean, which they're everybody's friend. So I'm sure everyone can say most of my friends are ENTPs, even though they're very rare. But yeah, my favorite. Oh,
Renee is so sweet.
Yeah, she really is. Okay, so now let's talk about how it is for you to fit in with this big family of 8. So basically, to break down a little bit of the structure of our family, there are 3 girls, 2 boys, and then 3 girls. Well, there are the older kids, which are the 4 oldest. So Amy, me, Mindy, and Mark are the 4 oldest kids. And then there are Joas, Elaine, and Renee. And then 4 years later, there's Carolyn. So we basically had 2 families in Carolyn. And so, I mean, shall I kind of talk about what my experience was with the family, and then you can... No, you just go. You can just...
Well, my experience... I mean, she's had rough spots. I struggled a lot with a feeling of abandonment from my siblings because I was so young. So like when I was like growing and kind of developing connections to my siblings, they all kind of, you know, were like moving out and going on with their life, like as you would expect them to. But me being young, like I went from having 8 people in the house to having me, Elaine, and Mom. So it is a rough transition being that young and that separate from the rest of the family, especially when... Does the YouTube channel know that you used to be Amish? Mm-hmm. Okay. Especially when the rest of the family like has memories about like a whole other life in being Amish, and I can't relate to that at all. So it is a feeling of otherness, I guess.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I'm very curious about, so when I was a part of the family, I mean, I was one of the first kids that were born. Life, even though it didn't revolve around me because there were so many other siblings, I was very much a linchpin in the family. I mean, the family was very affected by me. I felt like, I mean, my place in the family was a very big place in the family. And with everybody moving out, you know, and life kept changing with you, would you notice a difference? Do you know what I'm saying? No? Okay, scratch that point.
I'm like, what are you asking? Do I notice a difference now that you're gone specifically?
No. As in, like, how valuable you feel to the family.
Oh, I definitely think I've had a huge impact on the family, just for the fact that I know a lot of my siblings feel very, like, protective of me. And so it does, I really do believe it does shape the way they act within the family, because they want me to, like, be protected. I'm not sure how, like, in detail you want us to go about the mom and dad situation. Not at all.
Mom and dad have had, you know, no, I did a video about dad. My parents have been very dysfunctional in our life, so us older kids have very much had to kind of take care of the little kids. And so, I mean, does that give enough context that you can make your point that you were going to make?
Yeah, I just, like, when mom and dad are, like, dysfunctional, I feel like a lot of the siblings want and gladly take on a parental role with me. So I think that kind of shapes the family dynamic.
Yeah. That basically it?
Pretty much.
How has it been for you to see, so with Amy and I mean, I always had that person that I was just best friends with. Everything, all my childhood memories, you know, she's there. I mean, just from the very beginning, I had that person. And then I see that with Elaine and Renee. I don't think Mindy had it as much, and then I don't think you had it as much.
Yeah. Well, I think it's hard to be, like, even in the normal world, it's hard to be friends with someone when there's a 4-year difference, especially if that 4-year difference is in the teen years, because there's so much developmental, like, progression that goes on in 4 years. So I think, no, it used to be something I struggled with a lot when I was young, because I always felt like the rest of the family, like, kind of connected, and I was, you know, off to the side.
I wonder if Mindy doesn't feel that sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, when she goes through things, she doesn't reach out. Like, when I go through things, I call people. I'm like, you gotta help me through this.
Well, I used to not talk to anyone about how I was feeling ever, but I've gotten better.
You had a issue with feeling like you were a burden to people, didn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I feel like Mindy has that same problem. It never occurs to me that I might be a burden. I mean, it does occur that I might be getting annoying now.
Yeah. No, I don't. Well, there are multiple points. One, I don't feel like you're ever a burden, but also I don't think I'm someone you come to with emotional, like, help, because I am 17. So, 2, Mindy, I can see Mindy feeling like that, because I think Mindy has a very interesting combination of how she sees the world in comparison to the rest of us. I would compare, in terms of, like, logic-minded, I would compare Renee, Joas, and Mindy to be the most logic-minded in the family.
Me?
Well, okay. I'm excluding you for the purposes of this.
No, you can say whatever you want.
I mean, like, the interesting thing about you, though, is I feel like to you, the way you see and perceive situations is almost your basis of logic.
I have my own rules?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So, but Mindy is this odd combination of, I don't think she's as perceptive to other people as some of the rest of us are, because she's so very, like, what's the smartest thing to do in this situation? Like, what's the most efficient way to go about this? And I think that can be a feeling of otherness with the rest of us, because we're all, a good amount of us are just like, I'm sad, and then that's the basis of our argument. Just mine.
Yeah, but now you have 2 cups of coffee because you fixed yourself a new one.
I don't think.
You gave that to me when the camera died, and I moved it over there.
Okay.
There's never too much coffee. You want to pour some in there?
Oh no, I have a thing about drinking after other people, and I don't know if that cup was clean or not.
I got you. Oh, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so actually, you said I don't come to you with problems or with emotions. I don't really go to people with emotions because I don't have a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been having this issue where I've reached a point in my life. I've spent my 20s getting my life safe and secure. And I've reached a point where I'm completely bored with my life. I'm completely uninspired when I tell people about my life. And I mean, honestly, I'm just completely fed up. And you've kind of had a transformation in your life recently. And I was just, let's go over that a little bit and see if you have any advice for me.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through that whole process real fast. So in about December of last year, I wasn't doing well. I was very lonely. I spent a lot of time by myself. Like I didn't really have any huge motivations. Like nothing I was really working towards. And people had told me that I needed to like prioritize things more, like work for stuff that I wanted more. It didn't happen, but I felt like to me, it just got to a point of frustration. Like I was like, I am so frustrated with the fact that I am stuck in this situation that like I have to do something. And then it was just kind of a series of steps I took from there. Like actually, interestingly enough, so this year is my first year at my new school, and I switched because of the band program, and that's allowed because the band doesn't compete, so I can't be sued for that. Anyway,
I didn't know you could anyway.
Well, you're not allowed to switch schools to be on a team for a sport.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
oh, that makes a solid amount of sense.
Yeah, if the band were to compete, then I would not be allowed. But the band doesn't compete, it's a loophole. Yeah, so I switched schools, and it was because the old school I used to go to was very small. I think 5th smallest in the state. We had a graduating class of around 30, and the band had around 20 people in it. And I was part of the drum line, and we had just hired a new band director, and I was so frustrated because, not for the lack of trying, he really wanted a good band program, he just didn't know how to make it happen. He was someone who had only taught like elementary band, like music classes, and done private lessons. We didn't really know how to like run that group, and I had like tried to like take steps to make it different and improve it, and I just saw none of it like getting any better. So at that point I was like so done. I was like, you know what, I don't really have that much of a connection.
This just a little closer.
It's all on me now.
There you go.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I just got really frustrated that the band wasn't progressing as I wanted it to, because I'm not particular about a lot of things, but the things I do care about, I really want to do them well. So I switched schools, and from there it was, if you decide you're going to be productive and like do a lot in your life, it will just happen. Like it happened in a like series of small steps. Like I went from not really doing anything, being on the track team, but that wasn't like a huge commitment, to having 2 jobs, being in a full-time band program that was like very demanding, getting up at like 5 in the mornings to like do these band practices. And it's just kind of a shift in your perception of how you want life to go. Because there isn't any one thing that I did or like decision that I made. I just got so like fed up that I was like, I'm done.
You made a series of small decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I had to get in the Chevrolet drum line, you have to audition the year before you're going to be in the drum line. So to be in the 2018 drum line, I had to audition at the end of last school year. So I went through the whole process of emailing their director and being like, what steps do I need to take?
So you took care of all that? Mom didn't help you with any of that?
No, well, she, like, of course I asked her, like, she took care of like me actually transferring. Like I didn't do any of the paperwork for that. But I definitely emailed, like I got the band director's email from the choir teacher at Waldron, whose kid was in band.
So what even made you think to do this?
me and Mom had talked about it before, because at first I had brushed it off because she went to a basketball game for, I think, one of the other, or some sort of function for one of the other kids. And she saw this writing band, and she was like, Kari, I think it'd be really cool if you like switch schools to be a part of that really good band. And at first I completely brushed it off because like Washington was good enough. Like I could kind of take charge of the classes for drumline myself. But then once things started going downhill, I was like, all right, I need to do that. Like I need to like try to switch schools, see how it goes. And I chose Shelbyville because I already had some friends at Shelbyville. And it just kind of all spiraled from there.
Yeah. So basically, your story tells me that I just need to start taking small steps towards something that I may or may not want. And
well, I think I decided that I was going to figure out what I wanted, because I did not know if I would like being a part of an actual band, because Waldron didn't really count for that experience.
And to figure it out, you have to try things.
Yeah, to figure it out, I had to be a part of a bigger band, because I thought it might be something I wanted to do in college, but there was just no way for me to gauge that. So I was like, this is something that interests me more than most other things. I wonder if like there's something more I could be doing.
Okay, yeah. That's kind of how I feel about YouTube, and especially interviewing people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, I mean, it's something that's certainly catching my interest
Mm-hmm.
more than anything else. And I know that I want to, you know, bring value to the world with my skill sets, but I don't want to have a boss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be stuck to a job. I need a lot of freedom. So, yeah, I'm kind of attracted to this. I mean, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. The interesting thing about like being in band though is that you very much have to conform. Like being a part of a marching band is all about making everyone look the exact same so that no one stands out whatsoever.
I've wondered, how hard is that to do?
It's not hard.
What do? Just count on the seconds?
Oh, you're talking
1,
about marching.
2.
So it's the drum major will give signals for the other drum major to whistle off. So it goes one long whistle. Tweet. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on one you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's your feet on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when you're not moving, when you're in like a position on the field that you stay in for any amount of time, you're mark timing. So you're basically just moving your feet to the beat but not actually moving. Like walking in, like you're marching in place.
Interesting.
And you always step off with your left foot so that everyone's stepping on the same foot as the beat hits. It's like, it's all about like being a part of something bigger.
Huh.
Which is also very like, I don't know if oxymoronic is the right word, but it's very different from how I handle myself in like normal life, because I like to make statements.
Yeah. Do you want to go into that a little bit? Because I find that a little bit interesting.
Are you talking about how I handle myself in normal life, or like
Yeah.
the relation? Okay. So I very much like to stand out. Like I love being the center of attention. It's just something like I love being on stage. I think
She's really good on stage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I very much have like a performer mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I handle myself in day to day. But I hadn't really thought about, and it is odd to me, that I am so drawn to something where I do not stand out at all. And like if I did stand out, that would be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that?
Maybe it'd be interesting too when the 3 oldest girls, when we left the Amish, I was 15, Amy was 16, and Mindy was 13 or 14. And we try not to tell people we used to be Amish. I'm okay with telling people now. It's been a whole process. When we first left the Amish, we had to tell people we used to be Amish because we knew nothing in the context of the outside world. And so people had to know because we just knew nothing about almost any conversations. And then, but I don't think Amy and Mindy tell people now that they used to be Amish, because we can get away with not telling people. Like, if you were to have a conversation with me, most likely you couldn't tell unless we got into movies. But then, but now I'm okay with, I mean, it's just my backstory. It is what it is. It's neither here nor there to me. But Carrie Lynn tells people that
yeah. What I imagine what the reason for that is because I do feel a sense of otherness from the rest of the family, especially in the fact that they have experienced something like so huge and different from what like I have known my whole life, that I want to feel connected to them in that way. So I want to constantly reassure that I was Amish, I was a part of this, I do know the experiences when I really don't. And I also think it's, again, that like thing for me standing out. It's like, here's an interesting thing. I might look gay and super extravagant, but I used to be Amish. No.
Yeah. Alrighty, is that kind of
I think,
cover
unless you
everything?
have any other questions.
Not that I can think of.
No.
I'm sure I'll interview you in the future if I enjoy this.
Hopefully next time I'll have better hair.
What do you mean?
This is, well, usually I style it up, but now it's like,
Looks like a little boy. I kind of like that look a little bit.
I am Justin Bieber.
Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.